welcome to fucking real.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I still haven't got used to saying fucking real in public.
Yeah.
I went and picked this shirt up from the place that was making it today, and she was like, "So what company are you here to pick the the shirt up for?" And I go, "Oh, fucking real." And she's like, looked at me.
Oh, yeah.
And I go, "Yeah, nah, fucking real." And we've just both laughed. She goes, "Oh, yeah, actually, I know, by the way." So she goes, "That's a wicked logo name, by the way."
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for being coming along.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on here. Only for the main reason being that it's a new thing. Well, it's a new thing to me. Breath work. And in my journey and the things I've gone through, I've heard a lot about breath work, but didn't quite understand it and never really done too much about it. And after a bit of research and finding you and being lucky enough to do two of your private classes, one with my sister and the other one with my daughter, which we can go into a bit later.
Yeah.
But now having done it and knowing more about it and sort of cross that bridge, it makes me really excited to sort of get this out to people and talk about it.
Yeah.
And because obviously it heals trauma,
Big time. Yeah.
depression, anxiety, habits.
Yeah. Name it.
I'm sure you've got a lot more. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. I don't know. What do you do? How does it work?
How does it work? So so obviously I'm a transpersonal breathwork facilitator. So I was trained in breathwork, but transpersonal is breathwork as well as shamanic practices.
Yep.
My teacher, Claire Belton, she's down in Hamilton Hill, so I cannot speak highly enough of Claire. She found, over 30 years ago, she did her breathwork training and felt that it just needed a little bit of tweaking, and that's when she did the shamanic side of things. Okay. So obviously I was taught in that as well. I suppose my journey, I was, what was it about, 2014? I recognised I was carrying mum's grief. Dad had passed the year before, and obviously I had my own grief with losing my beautiful dad. Recognised I was carrying mum's, because we carry, the grief, the energy, whatever, of other people we love. Hey, we do it all on a subconscious level. Yeah. And it's funny, life was good, but it wasn't great. You kind of get to that point, you're just plodding along. Like my upbringing was really quite vanilla. I didn't have any hideous, trauma. Thank you very much. Yeah. Very grateful for that. Yeah. But still not feeling great, and kind of because you don't have a reason for it, it was really hard to understand. So went to one of Claire's.
Were you talking about like just living your day-to-day life, knowing something was deep within you of like what trauma or your dad? Did you know it was your father at the time that you were holding?
I definitely could feel that. Yeah. I could feel that I was, it's funny as I said, I can feel my heart. I could really feel that I was holding mum's trauma, because it was awful. My mum had lost the love of her life.
Yeah,
they were married nearly 50 years and it was really hard to, I think that's interesting. You'll find that, when one of your parents passes, you're carrying them, but you're still carrying your own pain.
Yeah.
And of course there's my brothers and all of that. All of us were hurting. So that's really what got me started. And it was funny, as soon as you peel off that layer, there's more.
Yeah.
There's more. Yeah. So the deeper you go, the deeper you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And do you find that in your work that, I mean, after the 2 times I've been there, and my 2 experiences were different, really, just for the record. And so my first experience, I've gone in there with my sister. And that was more or less just like very nervous. What am I going into? Meeting Shanie for the first time, and the room that you've got laid out, which is really beautiful and peaceful and really welcoming. So I felt, it was only nerves of doing the unknown for me.
Of course, yeah.
And but I had an unreal journey, and it was more to just to feel like I was in a good place and just understanding it, and I let go of a lot of stuff. I also lost my mum through suicide at a young age.
Okay.
And I sort of come to peace with her a little bit through that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And but it was more yeah, this is going to go on forever, this story, but have you got time? But the second time I was with Summer, and it was always going to be a one-on-one with you the whole time since I booked it in, and it just happened to be the night before where I've texted you and I said,
Mm.
is it okay if Summer comes along? And it's crazy how the universe works because I just felt that she was meant to be there in that session. And the other part was on how connected I was to Summer, even though she was in her own world going on her little journey in that session. And yet I was having a full conversation with her and we were talking about what I needed to hear from her. And it just, and obviously it made me cry and helped me understand and realize what my teenage daughter's going through, and her also telling me everything's all right, Dad,
Yeah.
and because of the protective father thing.
Mm.
And I actually, I felt like I had this conversation with my daughter that
Mm.
helped me heal and and understand what I was going through.
Yeah.
And so just going back to your layers and things. So I did feel like, this is something I want to do regularly. And, because I do feel there's a whole lot of other different areas
Oh,
that
yeah.
you want to sort of tap into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, with your mum, I mean, that's just, how old were you when mum
I was
suicided?
Yeah, I was 14 years old. Yeah,
14,
yeah,
that's, what a pivotal age. And so
yeah.
there'll be, especially the shamanic side of what I do, there's the ancestral. So you might find that another session that your mum's pain will come through,
Yeah,
because she'll need healing wherever she is,
yeah.
and, all of that stuff.
Well, it's funny you say that because Jen, who's been a life coach for about 8 years of mine, and I'm actually interviewing her next week, and she's another
Great.
awesome human being like
Yeah.
yourself, and just I can't praise her enough on how much she's helped me grow.
Yeah.
On all different levels and healing and whatnot. But anyway, she's on here next week, and but she done something very similar to breath work. Not so much about the breath, but sort of took me into this area where she put my mum in front of me, and you could just feel her. And Jen was just like, now it's your time to talk to you. But
Oh,
she took me right back to a place of dealing with trauma when I was inside my mum's womb. Yeah, and it was like all this anxiety and not feeling wanted in this world, and felt like because I wasn't planned. My mum was very young when she had me, so I was feeling all that stress and from that my mum was having. So it's funny that we just spoke about that as well
yeah.
because, and
Yeah.
it's funny how, or not funny, but I'm now wakening up to how important all this breath work really is for those those reasons.
Yeah, definitely. Our
Yeah,
bodies they are incredible. They hold everything unprocessed,
yeah,
and I suppose that's where breathwork is so powerful. It's so simple, and it's just about having that compassionate witness.
yeah,
That's a lot of what I'm doing. Obviously I'm guiding you, I'm tuning into your energy, but it's having someone, like I say, hold you, and we don't kind of hold space in our society very
yeah,
well, do we? And
yeah,
especially with things like grief,
yeah.
you know, kind of don't allow people to feel their
Yeah,
stuff. And
it's more what's around us with grief. It's more, we do have a lot around us, but the things that we have got access to, either pharmaceutical drugs or alcohol, just to name a couple,
yeah,
are there to suppress it. And I feel that's what, and I've done it for so many years. I still
oh,
do it, but
yeah, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, I've never done anything like that.
yeah,
I often joke around with my clients that, I was really good at projecting my stuff onto people and
yeah,
blaming others, playing the victim,
yeah,
wanting to be rescued. And so I think for me as well with my journey, it's not just about releasing those layers, but it's about kind of calling my power back
yeah,
and really being in my heart, which
yeah,
I know sounds cheesy, but it's true.
yeah,
Because when you come from your heart, you've got two ways you can go. You can react from your wounds. Did that for years. It's not that much fun. Or you can come from your heart.
yeah,
And that synchronicity kicks in, where I feel, well, that's what my
yeah.
experience has been in life.
I,
Yeah.
I sort of feel that you got to be ready for it in a way.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? It's not something
Yeah.
you can just walk in. It's not like walking into a pharmacy and going, here's my prescription. I've got depression. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, although you can do that, and and anyone out there that's thinking of doing breath work as a therapy for trauma or depression or addiction, I'd 100% recommend it to just go and walk through the door,
Exactly.
get your details
Have
off
a
the
try.
website,
Yeah.
and give it a crack, you know.
Yeah.
And really, what have you got to lose? Because when you're in those situations, particularly depression, fucking get in there.
Yeah.
Do it, you know.
Yeah.
Do it before it's too late. And I'm sure both of us could be a witness to say you'll come out a different person.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's true though, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. And I suppose another thing that's really good to know, like how you were saying how both your sessions were so different. Ultimately, your body will, you'll only go where your body can let you.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that nervous thing, oh my goodness, so many people show up and they're like, I'm really nervous. And I was like, yeah, that's really normal because number one, you're doing something unknown. And I think on some level, you know that you're going to be breathing into your body and facing your stuff.
Yeah.
You didn't want to face it the first time. And here I am going, okay, let's dive in and get into the body. So that's, again, going back to where that safety is of keeping you in this lovely safe space.
And you do that. You do that so well too, you know, because it must be a big part of your practice and learning to how to facilitate people and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I think my biggest thing is safety.
Yeah,
you have to feel safe, and if you don't feel safe, well, you're not going to go there, are you?
Yeah.
So
how crazy is it though when you look at it like, you know, for me personally speaking about my own life, is that like waking up in the morning and just feeling that anxiety, like you don't even want to get out of bed, and how hard that work is to get through, you know. And I'd and sometimes I'd be ripping my hair out. You know, I've had my cold shower, I've done a meditation, I've tried all this shit. I'm trying not to drink, and although drink is the one that only works, you know, for the time.
Yeah.
But you know, and yet we struggle with that. But yet sometimes, you know, it took me so long to go and do breath work, and it was just because that seemed harder.
Totally.
But
but
if anything, it's a walk in the park. Well,
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Compared to living like this. Yeah.
Actually, it's not a walk in the park to become vulnerable and walk through the door and do it. I guess
it's not. It's really not. And thank you for saying that, David, because honestly, quite often when I've got group, especially you think you're sitting there with possibly 3 other strangers plus me, and I'm going to be asking you all to breathe deep into your body, tell me what your intention is, where you'd like to go. I often will say to people, I honour you for showing up.
Yeah.
Because it is a really big deal to do that. Yeah.
100%. It does. It takes a lot of strength, a lot of courage. I guess where I was sort of going with that is that it's not as hard as going through this battle of depression or whatever it may be, anxiety, or you know, if you're really at that rock bottom, I don't know. It's a tough one really because I do. But
you can see both sides though, can't you?
Yeah.
You can see where people are. Yeah, and I suppose it's one of those things where if you've got all this stuff going on, it's harder to. Because you're just trying to push it down.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just, excuse me for being cheesy, but if you just let go and surrender to it, and I think that's the hardest thing because with breathwork, it's not just about letting go. It's about facing it.
Yeah.
You've got to feel it. Whatever's in your body, you've got to face it. You've got to feel it.
Yeah.
Then you can release it.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a bit of the fear comes from.
Sure,
definitely. Because, you know, we've got this illusion that we're in control. We like to think we're in control. I mean, we're not, but, you know.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I still even held on to a lot. Like I on that second session we had, I broke down a bit and cried. And you know, but every time that you sort of come around me, it felt like it was the right time, and like you were really connected into it as well, and it was helping support it. But you know, really looking back at it, I still was holding on to a fair bit. But
that's
I think like you said, you sort of just give what you're ready to give.
Exactly. And look, honestly, there's no point kind of going, I should have done more. You did what you could do. Yeah. Oh, look, truthfully, I was only thinking the other day, you know, in my training was insane, okay? And I can remember I would finish a module and I'd almost be like, I don't want to think about breath work. I don't want to talk about it because it'd be like, you know, you've ripped off all these layers. And I think in some respects, like I needed to integrate back into the kind of real world.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, Okay, now I'm ready. Let's go another round. And it's funny. It's different now.
Was this over a course of?
Over 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
and I was actually really grateful. 10 modules over 2 years that it took that long.
Yep.
Because, like I say, we did a lot of breath work. Because I can't hold space if I'm projecting my stuff. Yep. No, it's not how it works.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
not only have I had a lot of breath work, I continue to have breath work. You know, as soon as something comes up, I'm actually like, awesome, next layer, let's go. Right. You know, like I dive in freely, whereas initially I had resistance.
Yeah.
You know, there's safety in what we know.
Yeah.
Isn't there?
Yeah.
I'm miserable, but I'm so safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's only the tip of the iceberg, isn't it, really, when you start talking about that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
So 2 years into it, do you feel that, say, you know, I'm banging on like I'm a full breathwork expert now, but I've done 2 sessions. But so after, say, 2 sessions in comparison to 2 years, it's a lot longer now, but even after 2 years of doing it, is there a difference in the way you're feeling it, or breaking down? So is it something that you should always be?
I can feel myself really growing with the work.
Yep.
I was only joking with some clients a couple of months ago saying I almost feel like I should give the first people who I held space for their money back, you know, because the difference in how I've changed. But I do think, you know, part of it is just, you know, while people are breathing, obviously I'm seeing the pattern of the breath. Yep. But yeah, it's the shamanic side of what I do. I'm tuning into the energy. Yeah. So now I'll get, you know, sensations in my body, or I'll hear something, and it, like you say, it'll be the right thing that I need to say. So there are times, David, where I'll think, oh, that's ridiculous, but I'll say it, and then at the end the person go, oh, that was the perfect thing I needed to hear. I'm like, oh, okay, good. Yeah. So yeah, I suppose I keep growing with the work, but I want to keep growing with the work. Yeah. Because the better practitioner I am, deeper you're going to go.
Yeah. The more healing you're doing in the
world, absolutely. Well. I mean, ultimately, people will only go as far as they can go, but I want to be able to hold that space regardless. Yeah.
And so if you're sort of new to this, you know, like for those out there that are going to be listening to this and thinking, you know, because it doesn't have to be depression. You don't have to be. No. You don't have to be a negative. No. Or, you know, if that's what we want to call it, or down in the dumps or whatever. You can also come in here to get a new inspirational idea on life.
Absolutely. Creativity. You know, you might want to enrich your creativity. You might just want to have a better relationship with yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's quite funny because, of course, when I do my little breathwork talk, when clients come, I talk about health trauma and all this other stuff. And then it's like, I remember once a client said, oh, what about, you know, like the good stuff? And I thought, yeah, of course. I'm so focused on the trauma side of things, but breathwork is also about, breathing into your heart and you know, touching your bliss, touching your joy, and breathing that in. And like, honestly, when you do that, it's
because it's crazy how like we will, when we're down, we'll work up to the point that we're happy, but then we've also got the opportunity to keep getting better at being happy and living better lives. But it's sort of like I find it, you know, sometimes I'll just go, I'm feeling good, you know, it's a really good day. Well, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
When really, like, can breathwork sort of just help you to even get more in tune with those things of living happier life? And
I suppose that's what you want, isn't it? Like if you want to have a better relationship with your higher self, then absolutely. You know, ask yourself what it is you want in life. Yeah. And often breathwork will give you that clarity.
Yeah.
Because often there's, you know, old beliefs or beliefs that have been put on us, you know, like if there's trauma in the family, that'll change how people act. It'll change their beliefs, which get put onto you. So often with breathwork, you'll get that clarity. I know I have. I can't believe some of the things I used to think. Don't think them anymore.
Yeah. And you know, you were talking about how we hold other people's emotions and whatnot, and also how we hold other people's opinions, and we don't quite reach out to things like this because we're thinking it's left field.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
You know,
only hippies do that or whatever. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And now it's becoming a thing.
Yes.
And recognised, and there's a lot of science research around this stuff now as well.
Exactly.
You have to Google it on you know, YouTube it, and there's a lot of good stuff out there that's happening with it. And it's also been proven that it can change ways of thinking, like dramatically.
Yeah.
You know, where we used to think, you know, once you turn the age of 30, that your brain waves are set in stone, you know, where now it's like, no, you can literally do breath work, and there's a few other things you can do it and
Absolutely.
and change habits, change ways of thinking. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what would you sort of, how would you encourage someone to, you know, getting to that point? And
look, truthfully, everyone's healing is their responsibility. That's a big thing I say to my clients. So I think the best way to kind of is just to people to see your changes.
Yeah,
I think that's the best way. Yeah. You really, people have to walk their own path.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And if you are, I guess, and if you are listening to this and you're feeling that tingly feeling of, this is what I got to do, and you need to act on it, don't you, really?
100%. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like we're saying, I do group weekly, so there's, you know, either a Friday or a Sunday morning. This is what I do full time, so I have lots of flexibility. And of course, there's so many people doing breath work out there nowadays. I suppose my only thing is just to make sure that people are fully trained. Because you have people in such a vulnerable state when you're getting them to breathe. So
And you were sort of mentioning earlier on that there's different, what's the word? You can go into all sorts of different places with breath work.
Altered states. It's quite funny. Yeah, I was saying, you know, I have had a couple of clients that have, past life stuff has come up. I had a client the other day that a relative popped in who'd passed, who told them things that they really needed to hear that were all relevant with the session. Yeah, it was really beautiful, you know, like, so I actually never know what's going to happen.
Do you ever connect with that same person?
I haven't, to be honest. I'll get a sense. I have had a sense of someone being there, but for me, it's like, that's your relationship. I'm not. Yeah, okay. Between you two. Yeah. So I often get more of I'll get body sensations of what's going on in the client's body. Yeah. But okay.
Yeah. I guess what I felt was, you know, I felt like it's about sort of like sticking with that feeling when it's coming up as well. I felt like because it was hard at times to be focused on your breathing and then also be present with what's actually about to come up or what's coming up. And I sort of felt with having you there, you were sort of encouraging it to, you know, come up and that made it a lot. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like a lot easier.
Because do you know what? We have resistance. You know, and that resistance is really normal because, again, it's something that might be a bit scary, a bit heavy. It can even be hidden benefits to some of our stuff that we're holding on to. We feel safe because we know it. So, I'm breathing. I've had sessions where I've been breathing away and I'm feeling really good and I know my stuff, it's over there. I'm just going to keep breathing. And then, especially before I was a trainer, I can remember my teacher coming over and just saying something or doing something and then boom.
Yeah.
There it is. It got me. Yeah. So, you know, I really do understand because, you know, that stuff is scary or heavy or whatever it is. So, it goes back to that compassionate witness about having that person, just come on, you know, just gently. It's a fine line of just gently encouraging people to face their stuff and not push them too hard.
Not too much. Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And you've got to sort of understand that, I guess, be cool, us like a student being in there and going through it, you know, I mean, because you're not a mind reader as such, you know.
No,
so it's about,
I'm probably a body reader, if anything.
Yeah.
Energy reader,
The other thing is, so is it sort of the same? I wanted to ask this question earlier on, but I've been always quite big in doing Wim Hof breathing. Now I know this is different. But you know, like, so I'll do like a lot of either Wim Hof before sleeping for relaxation, or before going into an ice bath or a cold shower, and then to obviously energize. But I've noticed that sort of when I am doing it, you do go into this type of I don't know, you sort of do reach these parts of your brain where you're triggering that. I I don't even know how to explain it, like your subconscious versus your conscious brain way of thinking.
Yeah.
Is it all sort of related in a way with, because a lot of people are probably thinking, how is this? How does it work? Like what's actually going on,
Well, I suppose as you, do take those deep breaths, you are altering your brain waves. And as you, slow, it's kind of like slowing them down. So as you slow your brain waves down, you do get to your subconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that hidden stuff is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is that beta? The Vita's brain?
Oh, look, I should know it. Yeah, the alpha, beta. Yeah, it's one of those.
But that's obviously
delta,
what you're trying to encourage to.
Yeah, to get into that trance state.
Yeah.
Because that's what the deep breathing is doing. It's getting you kind of into trance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to mention safety again because it's such a big deal. But with feeling safe.
Yeah.
And just altering, because you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, and it's just like our bodies have so much intelligence, and so your body's just kind of like, I'm safe, I can do this, I can go there, because your body doesn't want to hold on to this stuff.
No, that's right.
That's why you go into crisis, because your body's gone, I'm done, okay, enough, you need to do something about this.
Yeah.
So that's why crisis happens. So let's have some breath work and not get to the crisis.
Before it gets bigger. And like, so with these, can you do them in? I know that I've obviously invited my sister and my daughter, but and I know you can do them by yourself, just one on one. And so what other sort of different ways of doing these breathwork classes, and
so I suppose, like I say, I've got group, so that's up to 4, which is Friday or Sunday mornings, and I also, if people can get a group of 3 together, I'll be happy to kind of do like group at a time that suits them. They just need 3 hours. I normally do a meditation first. I find that the meditation, it's either a moving meditation, so it's not just sitting there being placid. There's a lot of like breath and movement together can really help to unwind stuff. Or I'll take people on a shamanic journey, which again, it's all about that trance state. The drum really helps take you to the trance state. So so that's
so that class. Sorry to interrupt, but is that class a little bit different to just doing a breathwork class? Is it?
Yes and no. I suppose the only difference is there's more people, and we do the meditation, and because there's more people, I will kind of allocate just that little bit more time to breathe, because of course, again, there's one of me, so of course, I might be helping someone over here, and like,
you need to be over there.
So that's why when I do group, I just have it that little bit longer. So I try and make sure that everyone gets a bit of one-on-one time.
Yeah.
Because like I say, in group, because I've done it myself, you just, I'm feeling good. I'm just going to keep breathing. I feel so good.
Yeah.
That trauma's over there. It's okay.
So. I'd actually be interested to do one of those more like a group class, because like what I was saying before, when you can, you're connected to everyone else that's in the room.
Oh.
And you don't really understand it as much until you've done it and get it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's quite funny. Like often after people have a session, I'm like, how do you explain that to people? Until you've experienced it.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, group's where I started, so my heart is really in group. But I had group, what day is it? Yeah, so last Sunday it was 4 ladies, and they all connected on such a deep level, and it was really interesting because it was all to do with the heart, and they all had something going on with not their physical heart. And I find that with group, it's really interesting how the dynamics of the group, quite often people will go, like when it's time to share, they go, oh, well, I've got same but different. So, it really blows me away. And often, like sometimes people can't make it, and it's just like, I know that they're not meant to be there. So that's it. That's quite interesting.
It's I've done other things like group sort of things. I think I told you, like I've done ayahuasca, and I don't want to bring that up, but the after part of after you've done something like that, or if it's breath work or whatever it may be, is coming together afterwards and actually being quite open and vulnerable to be out sharing your because sometimes that's just what we need as humans. We need to be sort of understood, or because it is a safe place. And I've found in my journey that the more I'm very open about my mental health,
Yeah, great.
Well, I try to be as much as possible. There's obviously a time and place where you can do it in public, but
absolutely, yeah. And it's about finding that safety, isn't it? That safe space where you can do it.
Yeah. But you said the word before, which I thought it's hard to integrate. Like, so when you're doing things like breath work, and you've been on this journey, how to integrate that into your normal life, and it's not a big part of the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose I think the people that are meant to stay in your life do, and I think you just find that everything just unfolds as it's meant to.
Yeah.
Might find that some people just fade away, and then other ones come in, and
comes and finds you.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And I really liked what you were saying before about, it's about being seen, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's one of the, because obviously over an hour of breathing, I'm obviously talking and guiding, but one thing I say a lot is you're safe.
Yep.
And I see you.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of it is about.
Yeah.
Because we often don't see each other.
Yeah.
Like really see each other.
Yeah.
Because often people are so caught up in their own shit. That's all they see. You're like, what's that saying? You can only come from where you're at, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Like, even being able to give that opportunity for people to be seen, like listen a little bit more, which is hard to do.
Yeah, definitely. Because we're all in here and we're so focused on our own stuff.
Yeah. Being a little bit more aware of your peers and, your friends and family around you and what they're going through.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's not always about us, is it? But we often make it about us.
Yeah.
And, I kind of get it. We're human. It's I think it's part of the human experience, isn't it? If we weren't selfish, we'd probably all die. If you go back thousands and thousands of years, I'm sure it's a primal survival strategy.
Yeah. I guess. Going back to my journey with breath work with you, I had to be selfish to go and take that move to go and find it. And unfortunately, sometimes you got to be at that rock bottom part of your life to go and make some drastic changes, or take a few leaps in areas that you're unknown. But that's also what I wanted to encourage on here, though. I also want to encourage people to just go out there and do it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
Because who knows?
Yeah.
And spread the word.
Yeah. And I suppose on that note as well, because breathwork is, I often say this. I can remember when I was doing my training, Claire would say, this is really deep work. And I used to think, I'm never going to be able to say that. And of course, now I say it all the time. But it is something to keep in mind as well, that it is really deep work. So only come to it if you're drawn. Really honour that. Yeah. Because there's so many beautiful modalities out there, so sometimes it might not be the right time for you. It's not that breath work isn't for you. So it's also something to be mindful of.
So how do you work that out? Because I'd imagine that if I was hearing this podcast, I'd be sort of going, I guess it does depend where you're at, to be honest. But is there ways of trying to work out if it's right or not? Because sometimes you can just sit on the fence with it and you can talk yourself into it. You can
or
talk
out of it.
Yeah,
easy. Done it many times.
Yeah.
I suppose it is just about listening to yourself, isn't it? If you feel the pull, you'll just know. I think you just know in yourself.
Yeah.
If it's a yes, it's a yes. If it's a no, it's a no. You'll just know. Yeah, trusting yourself.
Yeah, and I guess you got to walk in that direction to know if it is really it or not. Anyway.
Yeah, and look, I suppose without wanting to sound too airy fairy, if someone's listening to this podcast, well, there's a reason.
Yeah.
True. And even if it just makes them go, that sounds interesting, and it might be another year before they go, okay, now I'm ready. I've had so many clients say to me, I've been stalking your website for the last 6 months,
Yeah.
Today was the day that I could call you.
Yeah.
So, again, it really is about trusting the work.
Yeah.
Trusting yourself, trusting, that this podcast is showing up, whatever it is,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's led us together anyway, and I'm sure great things are going to happen from this. I'd like to think it's not just the one and one only. I'd like to catch up, we'll continue on the journey.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And, and I just really do hope that, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that benefit from it. And
it's such a beautiful modality. And I suppose the reason I did the training is I just could not believe how something as simple as this could help me just to release just so much stuff, You know, I just didn't realize I was holding so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after both sessions, it literally feels like you're in a cloud.
Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah.
Like you feel so much lighter. And again, it sounds airy fairy what I'm talking about, but it's legit.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I like it, and you feel like it's not just a short period of time.
No.
Like you literally, even when you walk away, you're just on a cloud. You've got so much more clarity. And I don't know if that's just my 2 sessions, and if it's like that for everyone or not. But
truthfully, it's funny, the clarity. I love that you mentioned that, because clarity is a big one. Sometimes I have had clients ring, I had a headache for 3 days, or emotions have come up. So I do say that to clients. You know, you might have crazy dreams, might get some clarity, might get really emotional, because it is like, depending on how much you've been holding on to, you know, sometimes you're kind of nudging the door, and nudging the door kind of allows those emotions to come up. So, yeah, I've had clients say to me that, they had to go and have a sleep for 3 hours in the middle of the day after coming to group, because they were just so from it. And, so, again, every session's different. So, I really can't tell you.
And just for those who are listening, my daughter had a good old rest through a good part of it, which was pretty cool. And we had a chat afterwards, and she got a lot for it, but she was a typical teenage
girl,
And but my sister got a lot from it as well, and I know she's very, very keen on doing it again.
Great,
won't talk too much about what she'd done, but
of course it's privacy and confidentiality, and
cool,
very cool.
Well, so we'll have all your details on our website.
Fantastic.
When this goes
Thank
live.
You. Yeah.
And just I'm pretty sure everyone's picked up on how accommodating you are towards it all, and how awesome you are to work with, how safe it is. And I sort of encourage a lot of people to take the leap.
Yeah.
When they're ready, like we said.
Yeah, when you're ready. Yeah, and it really is about honouring yourself.
Yeah. And also when you've finished it, taking the time out to pat yourself on the back to do it as well. I think that's really important. That you go back and go, fuck, you done it.
And thank you for saying that, because it is a big deal.
Yeah.
It really is. Often when I'm holding space and big stuff's happening, I'll say to people that, it takes courage.
Yeah.
Because you're owning your shit.
Yeah. And we should be doing it more in life, man. Even just the little things, you know?
But, of course, in our society, we don't have that safety to do it.
Yeah.
Do we? Like, shaming people seems to be a sport.
Yeah.
Oh, don't talk. Oh, that really gets, because it's, once you shame someone, they can't heal.
Yeah.
They think there's something wrong with them, and it's a dark place to go. So we really don't, in our society, there's the finger pointing and So I suppose the more of us that heal, the more of us that live in our heart, the less of that will happen.
Yeah.
So,
Have you heard of not that I'll keep dragging this out, but like, have you heard of a book called The 4 Agreements?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
It's great, isn't it?
I've actually read it like 3 times in a row.
Brilliant.
I will listen to it on Audible.
Yeah.
The 4 Agreements, and how like the word, and if something's been told you, like you're ugly or you can't sing, or and how much we hold on to that, and even how we've been programmed with religions and yes and no's and good boy and bad boy, and and how this plays, and breathwork can release a lot of that.
Can blast that. And I like what you're saying there with programmed.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like we've been programmed, we've been trained to live a certain way. And I really do think, that there's a lot of change going on in our world, isn't there?
There is.
So it's kind of an exciting time to be alive.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. And it's making it exciting for us to be able to do this sort of stuff, speak openly.
Yes, definitely. Like our ancestors couldn't do this, could they?
Nah.
And that's one thing that is really interesting as the ancestral comes through with the work. They didn't get to, I need to go and talk to someone or go and have some yoga or, there was none of that. You just got on with it. So so
yoga's on my next thing to do.
Yes, definitely. And yoga's so good for you because it's about, again, getting back into the body.
Yep.
That's what breathwork's about. Get out of here, back into here.
Yeah. I don't know why I just haven't done it yet. It's another one of those things that
Yeah. Oh, well, it's on the radar now. So,
I'll get onto it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on,
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Good chats.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
We'll have your details up there for those who want to find you. And even just, I'm sure there's been a lot of great stuff that they'll get from this and in finding it elsewhere. They don't necessarily have to go
Absolutely.
here, but
Yeah. There's, like I say, there's so many really good. We've got a fantastic breathwork community here in Perth.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're out there.
Yeah. Cool. Even if they just drop you a line and say, I'm not exactly in Perth, I might be somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. One of the ladies I trained with is in Geraldton. She has the most incredible space up there.
Oh,
so
wicked.
yeah, I've got another down in Bunbury, Bustleton area. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Know a few good ones.
Yeah. Cool.
Very cool.
Awesome.
All right. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
See ya.
See ya.